Good morning everyone, it's Pierre speaking. It's the 18th of October 2016. Time is about 7:50 GMT time when I made this video clip. Starting off with the Euro Index daily chart. Last week we closed 89 pips lower than the opening, so price was trending down, but the direction indicator tells us that we need to look for longs. So that's why I flipped the daily, because on the 4-hour price closed lower than the opening. If we stick to the daily, we flipped the previous month from the low to the high, then we've got a zone starting at 101.31 coming down to 146. Now price currently sitting at this monthly pivot point, so look for possible support here at 101.31 for a long. If that do break, keep your eyes on this level 101, which is a psychological level, and the 55 EMA at 180 for possible support areas to go long. If this area here at 180 do break for some reason, I will sit on my hands and wait for price to get to this area 99.76. It is a daily 200 EMA, and if we look to the left of the chart, it was last month's low area where I will relook to long again. Possible counter trades 102.75 and 103, which is a psychological level. Euro US dollar, things look a little bit different on this one. We had a big drop last week. 4-hour tells us to short, daily tells us to short. Everything screams at you that you need to look for shorts. We closed 227 pips lower than the opening price. So if we honor that, we can flip the 4-hour from the high to the low. Then we've got a zone starting at 1082 going to 1142. In the zone, we've got a psychological level. We've got a pivot point at 1124. However, if we add a 38.2 FIP, then that comes in at 1055. The 55 EMA is at 1069 and it's moving down. So I will keep my eyes on this level between 1045 and 1069 this week for possible areas to short. If we look to the left of the chart, that was previous support resistance areas there too. Possible counter trades, I will only look at it if we get to 889 for those counter trades. EuroCat 4-hour chart, remember it's correlated. That was a tongue twister. If we have a look at this, 4-hour tells us to short, daily tells us that it's mixed. Last week we had a big drop on this one. We closed 421 pips lower than the opening. If we do make a new low here, follow it with the FIP so that the potential trading zone can move. Currently, if we FIP from the high of the previous week to the low, then we've got a zone starting at 4615 going up to 4730. Before we get to the zone 4553 going up to 4593, there's a lot happening there. We've got a weekly pivot point there, we've got a 38.2 FIP there, and this 55 EMA is moving down as well. If we look to the left of the chart, previous support resistance, so this can be a big area, 4553, 4593 for resistance for possible trades. Currently it looks like MACD divergence, price is trending down, MACD is trending up, so we can expect a pullback on this one. Possible counter trades, I will only touch it once we get to 4265. Correlated pair, Euro Aussie 4-hour chart. This one also, everything screaming that we need to short. We closed 294 pips lower than the opening of the previous week, so we can follow it with our FIP from last week's high to the current low. If we make a new low, follow it with the FIP so that the box can move here. Currently we've got a zone 4534 going up to 4644. In the zone, we've got the 55, 4562, that will be key, and this psychological level here as well. If we look to the left of the chart, previous support resistance in that areas in the elephant sky zone. However, here too, keep our eye on the 58.2 FIP at 4482. We've got a psychological level just above it. The EMAs are moving down, so that can be a turnaround point. Price getting very close to 4297. That can be a support area. We've got a psychological level there, but be careful. Remember, it's a counter trade, so be very careful with that. Then Euro JPY. I'm sitting on my hands on this one, guys. All the euros are dropping like a stone since last week. This one is going sideways, and if we look at this pattern, then it's a descending triangle. So if this bottom falls out, then there's a long way for this one to drop. Till that happens, I will sit on my hands. If we look at the Euro Pound daily chart, I'm looking at the daily chart here, guys. I'm a little bit concerned with this one. It is highly overbought in my book, and I want a bigger correction. So So I'll stick on the daily chart. If we do that, we flip from the bottom to the top. We've got a zone starting at 8796 coming down to 8564. Now this is a problem area here. Remember, that was a pivot point that broke. It was a monthly pivot point. Now it was a resistance pivot point that turns now into support. We've got a 55 EMA there as well. You can see how price is struggling and just going sideways. I will prefer a bigger pullback into the zone where we've got a monthly pivot point, the 200 EMA at 8751, the 55 EMA at the psychological level, previous support resistance in the area as well. So, as I say, possible support area there, but I would prefer a deeper pullback and relook to long from this areas here. Counter trades 9188, 9260. That will be the areas where I will relook to short. If you look at the pound US dollar 4-hour chart, last week we had a fat drop. We closed 264 pips lower. Everything here is screaming that we need to go for shorts. If we honor that, we flip the 4-hour from the high to the low. Then we've got a zone starting at 2269 going up to 2361. Price is busy pulling back into the zone. That there at the 50% FIP is the 34 EMA, so keep an eye on that. So I will look at 2269. This psychological level at 2298 and this 55 EMA at 2353 for possible short setups. Counter trades, but be careful with the pounds, guys, with counter trades. 2025. Well, I will relook to counter trade that one. Correlated pair, pound JPY, 4-hour chart. Everything here too screaming that we need to look for shorts. We close 146 pips lower than the opening, so we can flip the previous week from the high to the low. We have a zone starting at 126.74 going up to 127.69. Price busy getting closer to this level here. 127.69, 127.89 will be my areas where I will relook to short. Why? Because that is the FIP area. It's the 55 EMA, and if we look to the left of the chart, previous support resistance there as well. Aussie US dollar daily chart. Sitting on my hands on this one, guys, we are whipsawing through the EMAs here, and it looks like we're trapped in a triangle on the daily chart. While we trap in the triangle, I will leave it alone. I will not even take the breakout. I will re-look to short from this level. 7778. It's a monthly pivot point, and if we look to the left of the chart 2 months ago, that was the high area there on this one. If we look at the Aussie JPY 4-hour chart, here everything screams that we need to look for longs. We've got green lights on the 4-hour and the daily. We close 71 pips higher than opening. So if we honor that, we flip from the bottom of last week to the current high. Then we've got a zone starting at 7887 coming down to 7850. In the zone, we've got a pivot point, main weekly pivot point at 7858. We've got a 55 EMA at 7870, where I will relook to long. If we do for some reason break the 7870 level, be careful, as we can go and visit this mother-in-law down here. It is the 4-hour mother-in-law 200 EMA. We've got a daily 55 EMA. We've got a weekly pivot point. So I will relook for longs there if this 55 don't hold. Now, interesting area here. We're hitting 79.92. It's a weekly pivot point. It's just above the daily 200 EMA, and there is a possible counter short that can set up from there back down to 78.83. But be careful. US dollar JPY 4-hour chart. Mix on the daily. We closed 97 pips higher than the opening. 4-hour tells us to long. And while we're above all these EMAs here, which is the 4-hour 50, now I'm talking nonsense, the 4-hour 200 EMA and the daily 55 EMA, my bias will be too long. So if we stick on a 4-hour, we flip from the bottom to the top, then we've got a zone starting at 103.72, coming down to 103.27. I'll keep my eyes on this level here, 103.56 for possible longs. Yesterday we touched the 50% FIP, we're busy moving up, but this level here, 103.56, 103.49 will be key support areas for me. If we look to the left of the chart, we had previous support resistance in that areas too. If this break for some reason, I will sit on my hands till price get to these EMAs at 102.69, where I will relook to go long. US dollar CAD, I'm leaving this one alone, guys. Yesterday I mentioned that we are very close to all these EMAs that can give support. That gave everything the middle finger. We broke the 200 EMA, we broke the daily 55, we're breaking the daily 200 EMA, and this thing is just going to the bottom. And if I look to the left of the chart, we can see we're getting very close to previous support resistance areas now. If we drag that through, it's a weekly pivot point at 3061. I will not take longs on this one. There is too many roadblocks up here that can give resistance. So even if we do get support here and a move back up, be careful. We've got loads of EMAs for that roadblock. US dollar index 4-hour chart. Last week we closed 160 pips higher than the opening. Everything is screaming that we need to look for longs. We flip on the 4-hour from the bottom of the previous week to the highs that we made. Then we've got a zone starting at 97.30 coming down to 96.87. In the zone we've got a 50% FIP area. We have the 55 EMA, so that will be key areas for me where I will look for longs. 97.52, 97.08, 96.98 for those longs. If we for some reason break 96.98, be careful, as price can go and visit the mother-in-law. This area here, key support area at 96.52, 96.18, where we have a 4-hour 200 EMA and the daily 55 EMA as well. Possible counter trades, only look once price get to 98.67 and 98.16. This can be a top in place there, but be careful, 98.16. If that breaks, 98.67 for possible counter trades. Well, that's it, guys. Speak to you later. If you've got any questions, please pop in at the forum. I will be there. Have an awesome one. Cheers.